have been playing on the PS5 non-stop after having picked it up, and I want to share some thoughts and feelings about my experience with it. I don't really want to focus too much on how this compares to the Xbox Series X just quite yet. There is going to be a more formal and comprehensive video about that coming soon, but there is one area of comparison I really do want to talk about, which I think is one of the big strengths the PS5 has going for it. It feels new. This isn't to say that the Xbox Series X isn't a new system and has all kinds of upgrades and new services. It does, but there is a clear effort in that system to try and maintain a similar look and style to the Xbox One X, whereas with the PS5, everything feels new and different right out of the box. Oh, this is a hefty system. It's the design of the system, the UI, the controller. It all feels like a brand new experience that calls back to that concept of getting into a new generation of consoles. And a lot of this happens right out of the box. There's of course the big obvious changes like to the UI of the system, but there's lots of little things it does too as you're getting initially set up that just sets it apart from the experience that you had with the PS4. For instance, during the setup phase, if you have any physical discs on hand or if you own any PS5 games digitally, it goes out of its way to say, hey, while we're working on the rest of setup, are there any games you want to start getting installed right now, so they're able to jump in right away, which is something I really appreciate. I mean, ultimately, it really only saves you 3-4 minutes tops, but anything that gets me into a game faster, I like. There's also the very simplified approach the system has to setting up your privacy settings. You can still do the nitty-gritty changes when you want, but during initial setup, it gives you these 4 very simplified options that can give you the idea right away of, do you want to be very social, or are you here to just play single-player games and don't really care to interact with friends? Which, I picked that last one, because, yeah. I like single player games. And then once you're done with setup, you're greeted by this new UI that at its core does share a lot of the kind of common goal that the PS4 UI had, but it has streamlined and simplified it in a couple different ways. It's removed all the media app stuff from the main timeline and given its own separate dedicated tab, which is something I appreciate. And visually, while there is still this kind of core concept of here are the main games that you're cycling through, all organized by most recently played, they've been moved to the top of the screen and focused on having these really beautiful backgrounds associated with each game that just makes it really pleasant to look at, which, you know, you can see it right there. The really big change to the UI though is the new pop-up menu, which has also been kind of inverted from before. With the PS4, you would tap the home button to go to home, and then you would hold it to bring up the little pop-up menu on that one. Now, it's tap to bring up the pop-up menu, hold to go to home, which I actually think makes a lot more sense, even though I've definitely been conditioned for the PS4's approach right now. But the pop-up bar is really cool. I'm still not sold on the cards thing, which they've showed off, which is the thing that kind of shows you, oh, here's achievements you're working on, or here's stuff that's been happening in games lately. That's nice. The bottom bar is definitely the thing I like a lot more, especially because it is one of the few things on the PS5 that is customizable. You can pick different features and functions that you like. So for instance, by default, the music player is set there. So if you want to play music over game audio as well, it's there. But if that's not a feature you really like to use and you never see yourself actually going to use it, you can remove that and instead put something else you care more about. Overall, the UI is snappy, looks clean, and most importantly, is pretty intuitive aside from a couple little changes from PS4 where you might be used to doing certain things a certain way, like how you turn off the system, but once you get adjusted to those, it all just makes perfect sense. Getting set up in the UI is only one part of the equation though. The really big thing I want to focus on is what it's like to play games on the system. Being a next-gen system, like with every major console release, there's a big heavy focus on the concept of how games look and play better than before. And there are a few titles right now at launch that are showcasing this pretty well. In particular, I've mostly focused on playing Spider-Man Miles Morales and Astro's Playroom, but I've also sunk some decent time into Demon's Souls, Bugsnax, and Spider-Man Remastered. I'm waiting to pick up my copy of Sackboy. While a lot of these titles are multi-platform or remakes, remasters in some way, they still do a great job of showing how the system can look and feel better than its previous version. Even something like Spider-Man, where again, Spider-Man was a great looking game on the PS4, with the updates that the PS5 is capable of, it just looks so much better in 60 frames on performance mode. Or if you don't care about the smoothness of visuals, you can also make use of the fidelity mode, which adds things like ray tracing and higher resolutions, leading to a very beautiful game, even if it's a little choppier on the frame rate. Really, even though I would say Spider-Man Miles Morales is probably the biggest exclusive as far as like name power goes, Demon's Souls is a very close second and is actually, I think, the best game as far as showcasing what the system can look like right now. Even though it's based on the old school PS3 graphics, it has been so heavily redone and is just a beautiful, smooth running game. And something that all these titles highlight is, of course, one of the big things that was being pushed as part of this next generation is that load times are extremely fast. Whether it's doing things like fast travel, booting the game up, all that kind of good stuff is just way faster than it's ever been before and feels a lot better. There's never really a moment where I feel like I need to pull out my phone to check other things and kill time while I'm waiting for a game to load up. It's worth noting too that during all of this, playing all these games, going back and forth and just doing stuff nonstop, the system has been super quiet. One of the biggest problems I had with the PS4 was how loud all of those different models of the system would get, especially over time, and that has not happened to me yet with the PS5. I can hear the disc spinning a little bit when I'm doing some game installations, but outside of that, as far as the air vents and everything are concerned, definitely pays off having the system be as large as it is because I don't hear anything other than the game audio. Now, all of these are things that I think we've kind of come to expect and talk about with next generation systems. Oh, the games look so much prettier. Oh, they run so much smoother. Things load up so much faster. All great stuff. But what has actually shocked me and stuck with me through this experience, and I think has had the most kind of jaw-dropping impact out of everything, is actually Astro's Playroom. Not that Astro's Playroom is this Game of the Year narrative that we need to talk about or anything, but because of how much work it puts into showing off what the new DualSense controller is capable of, and is actually by far the most exciting thing to me about this next generation. Because, look, we're used to seeing things like better graphics over time, but what really appeals to me is when systems find new ways to bump up the interactivity with the experience, and Astro's Playroom really showcases what the DualSense is capable of. Some of this I half expected, like adaptive triggers. As soon as I read that, I thought it was going to be the coolest new function, and turns out, yeah, it actually is really cool. The way the game adjusts the tension on the triggers, adding kind of midway stops, it just gives a certain sense of feedback and control to different game mechanics that is really unique. What I didn't expect, though, is that more than anything, actually, the haptic feedback is amazing. Now again, Astro's Playroom is really going out of its way to extra show off how this can work, but it's the little minute details that haptic feedback can give back to you. I think more than anything, really, it's the footsteps in the game. Depending on the kind of surfaces you're walking on, whether it's grass, sand, concrete, sticky mud, glass, all of it feels different. And it gives this very satisfying kind of response and reaction that never really happened before with rumble features in games that at most would only do things like, oh yeah, it kind of rumbles on one side or rumbles on the other, there's a locational, but that's it. This is something on a whole nother level. The Joy-Cons on the Switch actually have dealt a little bit in this area as well, but they haven't really fully capitalized on it the way that this controller has. This, to me, more than anything else with the PS5, has really showcased what can be different about the experience of using this next-gen console versus past versions. Now, to balance out all my hope and joy from playing Astro's Playroom and having a great time, if I'm going to be a little more pessimistic, I really hope this is something that PlayStation doesn't drop the ball on. Because while Astro's Playroom does a fantastic job of showcasing these features, no other games are really hard leaning into those mechanics quite yet. A lot of the launch titles like Spider-Man Miles Morales, as well as things like Call of Duty, do make use of adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, but none of them go to the same full extent that Astro's Playroom does. And to be honest, I'm really not expecting a lot of third parties to jump onto using these as much as other functions, because ultimately, if you're doing multi-platform games, they're not going to necessarily give those unique features as much attention. So I'm really hoping that Sony does a lot of heavy lifting and makes sure that their first-party titles really use these functions in interesting ways beyond just how Astro's Playroom is showcasing it. Because let's be fair here, the PS4 added the touchpad, and so many games tried making that work in unique ways at the launch of the PS4, and midway through its life cycle, basically stopped getting used. We really just ended up using the button aspect of it more than the touchpad itself. And that is not something I want to see happen with the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, because again, more than anything else I've experienced with the PS5 so far, that has been the thing that really sets it apart. If it hasn't been made clear yet based on what I've been saying so far, my overall experience with the PS5 has been an extremely positive one. But that's not to say that there haven't been some drawbacks and things that I don't like. The biggest thing, quite literally, and the thing that I think a lot of people were worried about moving into the system, is just how massive it is. And there's really two main reasons why this is a drawback. One of them is a slightly more unique specific situation for me, which is the fact that since I have the one PS5, but I want to be able to play games here at the office for work, but also play a little bit at home late at night, I end up having to travel with this thing back and forth a lot. And thanks to its massive size and very unique shape and styling, it's kind of a nightmare to transport. There's not really a specialized carrying case for it just yet, and I feel like it's going to be something we need very soon, at least for some people, because I am very paranoid putting this thing into a backpack or carrying it any other way. For more people, what I think is an even bigger issue is finding a place to put this system. It is so much larger than any other gaming console that's been out for quite some time that it's kind of hard to find a TV console setup that makes sense for it. Anything that involves cubbies or kind of small areas to put the system, it's definitely not going to fit into, especially if you want to make sure there's room for all the air to be pushed out and travel properly and keep it cooled. So you really need to put it on top of things, and even then, sideways takes up a massive footprint, and even on the tower mode, still a really big system. And that's really the only thing that I would say I've had a majorly negative experience about. There are other little things that bother me. For instance, the game collection section of the UI lists every game you've ever played, and there's not really any way to curate that. So if there's a title that you picked up physically and played for 5 minutes and decided you absolutely hate it and never want to see it again, well, it's still going to show up in your game collection and there's nothing you can do about it, at least right now. Also, while the UI is a lot cleaner and feels better overall than the PS4 UI, there are some specific aspects that feel like they were kind of taking a step back to things that the PS4 UI had problems with early on. For instance, games are still organized just by most recently played, and there is no way to further organize that just yet. You can't make folders, you can't have a favorites list, nothing like that. It's just always going to be that most recently played list. Really though, a lot of the things I'm having problems with right now, aside from the giant size, which hopefully eventually gets rectified with a slimline release sometime in the future, maybe 3 years from now, a lot of these problems are things that can be fixed with updates, and hopefully we'll see that in the near future, or at least sometime in the PS5's life cycle. The main takeaway I really want to give here is that my experience with the PS5 so far has been pretty much nothing but positive. It is a brand new feeling, refreshed experience that looks nice. Games, of course, are looking better and better and loading even faster, which is great, but more than anything, I am so excited to see more games take advantage of the DualSense controller. That's it, that's the video. I've got more stuff in the works coming very soon. I think the next thing I'm really gonna start leaning into is working on the full comparison of the Xbox Series X and PS5. Not to try and start any more gaming console war things, but there are people out there that are not sure which one they wanna grab, and I wanna help make sure I give them the most information that they need to make that choice. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that video, and I will see you guys later.